correct and, you know, some type like vulgar and or beautiful or beautifully vulgar, you know, and
yeah, there is a lot of. I had some interesting reactions at the opening to the sort of
how'd you
sexual
navigate
references
right.
going on in my dolls.
How'd you navigate that?
Well, one of them was really hilarious. It was actually a young boy. He was probably about 10. My brother's friend's son. And we asked him what his favorite was, and he went up to Best of Bumble, which is the only doll in the show that has a male anatomy reference, shall we say. And, so that was like really hilarious. But then, you know, I don't know. I mean, I like there is a kind of like joyful, like free sexuality going on with them, but there's also so much more going on with them too. And I think there's a kind of innocence too, and playfulness. So that's only part of them. But I think that helped me to express myself through these because it was so sort of like, you know, like embroidering like specific.
Sure.
Like the yoni, for example.
Well, the full title of this is Queen Moldy Head and Her Glorious Yoni.
And she has some. I'm trying to think of what's going on in the back of her. Not as much on her, but she has some kind of her. I'm just showing this so you can kind of see the doll in the space of her, the back and the front. But she does have Queen embroidered on her, and that came sort of later, actually, like when I was getting close to the completion of her. Her name started to come to me because of her breastplate, which is a piece of vintage trim that is probably from like, I don't know, the late 1800s. It's really old. And I painted on top of that, so the pearls were kind of original, and I painted on top of her of that trim. And then this is part of like a nylon stocking, this elastic here. And she just started to look really regal to me because of the chest plate. And so I embroidered the word queen on her, and then I thought something's not right because she didn't have her hair yet at the time. She was bald. So she was a bald queen with this like sort of yoni and pedicured toes, embroidered. Her toes are, hence the name of the show, Embroidered Pedicures. Her toes are embroidered, and so are her fingernails. And she also has a lot of bendable parts to her, so I kind of made sure that all my dolls were in the right place when Frank hung them, as far as placement in her arms. But so I had this doll hair that a friend of mine had given me, like a couple different haircuts, choices, and I thought, oh, that's it. She needs something going on at the top of her to kind of balance the plate and the yoni and everything else. And I put that hair on her, and she suddenly was like the queen. She had this beautiful mane, and it was like that was the last touch, and it sort of like tied in her black eyelashes also. And her head has sort of this French knot stitch that I got really into when I was hand embroidering. So that's sort of the moldy head situation. And I just loved the kind of completely opposite, like queen moldy head, like what queen is, like a queen is not going to be one to be referred to as a moldy head, obviously.
Right.
And her glorious yoni. So she's like a little confused, but like really awesome, I think, too. And I love her stockings, too. Those are also hand painted and hand embroidered. All the, I have sort of a running stitch, which is in and out with the needle, with this sort of gold metallic thread, which I love, and then the gold metallic trim. So she's got all these. She had all these sort of regal touches, gold and sparkles and everything, and I'm like, oh God, she needs like this amazing hair too, and that's going to tie her together, so it did. So anyway, that's Queen Moldy Head. She got a lot of attention at the opening. Yeah.
All right.
So.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the TALULAH piece, which is, I think, ties into this next question I'd like to ask here about the anatomically correctness, you know.
Oh yeah. I just want to say one more thing.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So on this piece, the title, going back to the titling of my work, the title actually came to me once I put it sort of guided my process. Like it was called Queen Moldy Head and her Glorious Yoni, but it like didn't really register with it. I had already come up with that name, but I was like, she doesn't look like a queen yet. You know, so I put the hair on her. So the title actually came before I finished that piece. So it kind of guided the piece, which doesn't usually happen. So
Was that common with this series? Did you
no, it's not. It's not.
Just a one time.
That was pretty much that one. Like that was interesting to me. That like, because to me that's like mental space almost. Like that's like the cerebral part. That like I sort of got into naming the piece, and then the process came from that. You know, so it was kind of backwards in a way, but it was just I remember that specifically because the title actually helped me complete the piece. So I'm sorry, I'm jumping all around.
No, it's fine. Yeah, this is your talk, Nicole.
You're doing a good job of following me wherever I'm skipping to. Okay.
Yeah. So TALULAH. So yeah. Well, these dolls are not anatomically correct. They can be seen as deformed and frightened or unique and expressive. Can you please explain or discuss?
Yeah. So the reason I brought up that the sort of deformed and frightening is from a couple of experiences that I've had. I mean, that is not how I see them, and it's not part of my process actually of creating them. However, it's interesting to me because I think so when I lived in Florida in the 90s, and I had a piano at the time. And I had antique doll heads covering the piano. Just the heads with the eyes like staring at you. And I remember I had a party and people were really freaked out. And they were like, what's up with the doll heads? Like, you need to take those down for the party. Like, they're staring at me. They won't stop staring at me. And it was interesting to me because I don't see it that way. I see it as like they're connecting with me. They're like constantly looking in my eyes. They're not, you don't have to worry about them not looking in your eyes because they always are, you know?
Right.
So it's just interesting like that. But then also I talked with a friend of mine who likes my work but was kind of freaked out by my dolls. That was interesting too. And it reminded me of a book I read in the 90s or late 80s called Geek Love. It was a novel. I don't know if anyone ever read it. But it was, did you read it, Frank? It was a fictional book about a carnivore family where the mother purposely like their business was failing. So the mother purposely ingested like these chemicals to create this sort of like freak show babies. And it was really popular and really disturbing. I found it incredibly disturbing, like to the point where, I don't know if I actually finished the book. I think I did.
It's too much.
It was too much, like that someone actually came up with this. And it wasn't like a true, you know, it was, so anyway,
it's like reverse.
that being said, that, I think, okay, so I grew up with a mother who was very unique. She still is unique. And she dressed me in very oddball outfits when I didn't want to be dressed in oddball outfits. I wanted to look like everyone else, as every child does. And it kind of stuck with me, and that like this sort of uniqueness, and I think it's one of the things that's contributed to me being an artist today, for sure. And to like sort of express yourself physically, like on your form, through clothing. So I think, you know, I don't think that, oh God, she doesn't have 2 feet, she's got 5 feet. Like, or 5 toes, but not another foot. Like, I don't think that way at all. To me, it's a creature. It's a personality to like connect with. It's not an oddball. It's like this unique, expressive personality. So, I love this piece. Actually, it's one of my favorites. It's also a little bit abstract too. Like her face. She obviously has a face, but I feel like I should maybe sit over, like over here. She obviously has a face, but actually her head is part of another doll that I did a couple of years ago that didn't really work out for me. Often I'll do that. I'll take part of something else and then rework it. The rest of the doll, I think part of the body was also part of another doll too, but like, so I sort of like already had this canvas of her head with a lot going on the striped fabric already, and then I embroidered a face on top of that. So it's not real clear, but I feel like the mouth kind of came through and really like defined her personality in a way. Plus her like fabulous tutu situation and her she's got like lots of stitching going on too, like all this like great cross stitching, and then her like little breasts, and this is a leather glove down here. I mean, there's a lot of like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're never gonna see that outfit again anywhere. I don't think so, anyway.
Well, this is one of the nightmarish ones.
See what I mean?
because this is like you're departing mostly, I mean, a lot from the human form. You know?
Okay, I want to hear this. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, and that. So I mean, it's still there, you know, but then you have like that's why I put these two pieces together, because I felt like because of the hand.
Oh right.
You know, being the body. It's almost like an octopus or a squid. You know, like a hybrid human creature.
Right, but yet most of the features are pretty human.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, they're all derived from the parts are all kind of mixed up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's the collage. That's part of it's the collage mentality of like disparate parts like next to each other, creating new relationships. That's part of it. I mean, it's very surreal. It's like a little bit exquisite corpse, surrealistic.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, there's a lot, but it's interesting. Like even you said that this has more of a nightmarish quality. Now, when I look at her, I find her to be like so comforting and sweet. Like I want her like next to me, saying it's going to be okay. You know, I know that sounds kind of nuts, but to me, they're like, it's like creating these like. I don't know. I didn't think it was okay to be different for many years. So I think there's an element of celebrating like diversity and uniqueness in people and personalities, you know.
Yeah, and you're creating these here, you know. They're all.
What's that?
You're creating these here, you know. You're creating the personalities and the individuals in the series, right?
Right. Yes. Yes.
Nice. Yeah. So, well, do you want to talk about the hand embroidery and hand painting process? 'Cause I feel like that is illustrative in this piece specifically.
In this piece here. Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier too, but there's something about sort of it's like very tactile versus being cerebral. Like there's something about, like I remember I would sit down and I would feel like I had to know what I was doing. And I don't feel like I knew what I was doing. I was just doing it.
Yeah.
And I was just stitching and stitching and stitching. And then the parts would come to life from the stitching. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
And then there's it's very tactile. Like I'm holding this sort of soft fabric and, it's like also sort of like putting the parts together, like sewing the parts together, like is very kind of like it's like repairing them, you know, like at the time when I was creating these pieces, like I said, it was after we had opened up after COVID, so it was like